Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Thursday. Good afternoon, one and all. Thanks for being with us for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program today, thanks so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. So glad to be with you on this afternoon. And if I'm being honest, I kind of understand some things about today. Number one, if you're at work and you're a typical YouTube viewer of the program, you might have your video otherwise occupied today. You might not even be at work today. And if you are at work, you might not be doing any real work today, but we can keep that between you and me. Because it is, of course, the first day of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. We have already had a couple of really great games already today. And a number one seed is down double digits at halftime. And I want to stress, this is the first round. So, yeah, a lot going on in the tournament. We'll talk all about it. We'll get you caught up on what has happened. We'll look ahead to tonight's action and go through all of that fun. I want to know what your setup is right now. Text the program today, 785-272-9429. Text a picture if you've got a good setup. Or if you're watching on YouTube today, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, what is your ideal tourney setup? Do you go multiple screens? Do you make your own quad box with YouTube TV? Do you prefer to watch fewer games at once? Do you go maybe two screens? Are you old school? Prefer to work the last channel button like a speed bag and really dial in on one game? I want to know your setup. I want to know what the ideal way for you is to enjoy first-round games in the NCAA tournament. Text the program, 785-272-9429. And get in on that live chat on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Speaking of coverage of the tournament, we'll have some tonight. We'll have some of the late-night games here on 580 WIBW. We are with you until 6 o'clock tonight. And we will then break away for K-State women's basketball in the WBIT. K-State women playing Georgia Tech at Bramlage Coliseum tonight, 6 o'clock pregame, 6:30 tip-off. And then following that, we will join Westwood One's coverage in progress and take you through the end of day one of this NCAA tournament. I am Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in a bit. Brendan Orzinski is off today. How's your bracket looking? I will not be perfect this year. I missed out on perfection. I picked Ohio State to beat TCU. So I 0 for 1 right out of the gate. So I also did not pick High Point to beat Wisconsin, which they just did in thrilling fashion. We'll get to, again, all of what has already happened today, and we'll look ahead to the evening games tonight as well. And, of course, we'll keep you abreast on what is going on, including the developing situation in South Carolina, where number one overall seed Duke trails Siena by 11 at halftime. It was a gross half for Duke. They stood behind the arc and just chucked a bunch of three-pointers and didn't hardly make any of them. They acted like they were the underdog. Yeah, we're just going to take a bunch of threes. We're more athletic and bigger than these dudes, but we're going to play like we aren't. I don't think John Shire's a really good coach. You can keep that between us. That's our little secret. I think John Shire kind of sucks at this. I think it was his fault when they lost to NC State 2 years ago in the Elite Eight. I kind of think it was his fault. They choked on that lead against Houston last year, and it's definitely going to be his fault if they lose to a 16 seed. I'll dispense with the whispering now. That might have been a little creepy, honestly. And that might have gotten creepier as it went there. I won't do that anymore. I promise. I tried something new and it didn't really work out. That's, That's radio for you. Anyway, lots of NCAA tournament talk on the program today. Also going to get into some Chiefs. We're a week into the new league year, more than a week now. The first wave of free agency business is done and dusted. What does the Chiefs starting lineup look like? Who's the first 22 for the Chiefs? And what does that reveal about what their draft strategy might be? Not going to look at the depth chart, because you can always build depth. There's always a reason to take, players in the mid-rounds to fortify your depth, that some positions are more important to add depth at than others. But what do the starters look like for the Chiefs right this second? What do they look like? And what does that team look like? What is the ceiling for that team? If the Chiefs had to go play, obviously if they had to go play tomorrow, Patrick Mahomes wouldn't be a quarterback. That'd be its own set of problems. But if they had to go play a full season, if you had to run the season right now with these guys as your first 22, how good would you feel about taking back the AFC West? We'll get into that in a little bit. Also, we are 8 days away from opening day for the Kansas City Royals, which means we are less than a week from the first Major League Baseball game of the season. The opener is Wednesday night in San Francisco on Netflix for some reason. And then everybody plays except the Royals on Thursday. And then a week from tomorrow, the Royals and the Braves, and we have baseball. And with 8 days left until the start of the season, you would like to feel a little better about the answer to this question. Who are you handing the ball to with a lead in the ninth inning? That is not a question that right now appears to have a very good answer for the Kansas City Royals after another concerning spring training outing for incumbent closer and last year's AL saves leader, Carlos Estevez. So how much of a concern is that really? Is it just a concern on its face, or is it real big trouble for the Royals? We'll get into that later on in the show as well. Plus, we'll do our typical Thursday shenanigans, either or over under, some headlines, little what is wrong with you. And at the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour, we are going to recap the high school basketball season, put a wrap on winter sports with Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. Pistol will join us for the local sports spotlight. That is coming up again at the bottom of this hour. Once again, you can interact with the program on our YouTube streaming live chat. We are live on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. Live on YouTube every time we're live on the radio. So hop on into that live chat. Though, again, I understand if you usually watch us at work, you might be watching a basketball game right now at work, and that makes your slow down your video bandwidth and everything. So I understand if today you're going with a bit more of a traditional listening platform, audio platform for us today. I respect that. But if you are in the YouTube chat, pop in, say hello. I see Christopher, Andrew, Mark H. is in the chat. I think I see Paul and Vance as well. So good to see all of you so far, and hope to hear from more of you as the chat goes on. Also, the text line is open, 785-272-9429. To update you on the current action at the NCAA tournament, the Duke Blue Devils are facing their largest deficit of the season with 18 minutes left to play. They trail Siena by 13. And it's not an accident. Duke is playing like they're wearing cement shoes. And Siena had a spell in the first half where they just could not miss. And Duke has settled for 3 after 3 after 3, and it's not really their game. And it's a long way back for the Duke Blue Devils, who, again, trail by 13 in Greenville, South Carolina, to the Saints of Siena, led by future Syracuse head basketball coach Jerry McNamara. And yes, that's Jerry McNamara. That's not a name you remember fondly if you are a Kansas Jayhawk. I understand. But for those of us who were not personally impacted by his three-point barrage in the first half of the 2003 National Championship game, Jerry McNamara is just one of those classic, like, oh, yeah, that guy. I remember that guy. Yeah, that guy has Siena up by 13 points over the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament with 17 minutes to play. And that is remarkable. So we will certainly keep an eye on that one. The only other game currently going on is the Vanderbilt-McNeese State game. That game is at halftime. Vanderbilt, after a very slow start, leads the Cowboys by 38-35. Earlier today, it was TCU striking an early blow for the Big 12. They were able to hold off a late rally by Ohio State to win. 66-64 was the final in that game. Nebraska blows out Troy 76-47. The last of the power conference teams never to have won an NCAA tournament game has finally won an NCAA tournament game. Nebraska finally has one. They finally get to experience the round of 32 as an NCAA tournament team. Remarkable that had not been the case for all those years, but Nebraska is finally through. They finally have an NCAA tournament win. Troy did a lot of helping off of Price Sanford and going under screens against Price Sanford, and that was a really, really bad idea. Whoever had the scout for Troy might have wanted rewrite. Also, Louisville held off an upset bid from USF. Louisville dominated most of that game. USF was a very popular upset pick. Hand up, I gave you that pick. I had them in my bracket. I thought Louisville would miss their star freshman, Michael Brown, and arguably they did because USF got it tight down the stretch. But the Cardinals hang on 83-79. Just goes to show you, those popular upset picks, if it's too popular, it starts to smell a little funny. If it's too popular an upset pick, you kind of got to back off. You kind of got to stay away. And then the other game from the first session, High Point defeats with Wisconsin. The 12 knocks off the 5, 83-82. And my favorite detail, in case you were not watching, is that the winning basket was scored by Chase Johnston for High Point. He leaked out on a defensive rebound, got ahead of everybody, caught a pass in stride, and laid the ball in. And that was his first made 2-point shot of the entire season on 5 attempts. Chase Johnston is not out there to get to the rack. He is not out there to hit some pull-ups, to get to his spot. No, his spot is behind the arc. He is a 47% three-point shooter who is 0 for 4 from 2 for an entire season. And now he's 1 for 5, and the one just won an NCAA tournament game. How can you not be romantic about the NCAA tournament? Absolutely remarkable stat. Chase Johnston, first 2-pointer of the season, wins it for High Point. Their head coach, Flynn Clayman, cut a UFC promo on the court after the game. Yeah, nobody wants to play us, but you got to play us in the tournament. I liked it. I appreciate that energy. Travis Steele had the same energy last night after Miami, Ohio beat SMU in that first 4 game out there in Dayton. And those mid-major coaches, by the way, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. Teams from the big conferences do not want to play good mid-majors. They don't. There's nothing in it for them. There's no benefit for a mid-major, for a power conference team to play a good mid-major. Because it doesn't matter how good that mid-major is. If you lose that game, you get dinged. And if you win that game, nobody cares. It's the thinking behind, and this was true for years and remains true, even though the fortunes of both programs have shifted a little bit. There's a reason Kansas doesn't play Wichita State. And when Wichita State really had it humming, and I was doing sports talk radio at this time, 2013, 2014, the salad days in modern memory for Wichita State basketball. Well, why won't KU play us? Every Shocker fan wanted to know. Why won't KU play us? Because it doesn't benefit them. They win. Who cares? You did what you were supposed to do. You're Kansas and they're Wichita State. You did what the words on the front of your jersey suggest you're supposed to do with a team with those words on the front of their jersey. You took care of business. If you lose that game, if you're Kansas, disaster. So there's no benefit. It's all downside. And the same goes for any other power conference team playing a mid-major team with any bona fides. And look, even when you're going into a season trying to get a game scheduled, coaches and ADs pay attention. They know who's supposed to be good. They know, for example, if a team is coming into a season and they got a bunch of guys back or they got a bunch of seniors or they're going to be the consensus pick to win the league or whatever it is, I don't want to play those teams. They don't. Because there's no upside. There's no winning in that for them. And the athletic department's got to pay the money to bring them in the first place. So it's all lose. It is a lose-lose proposition. Is it unfortunate for those mid-majors who would love to schedule up for their own credibility's sake? Yes, that is unfortunate. But it is also reality. And there's just not really much that you can do to change that if you're a program like Miami, Ohio, or you're a program like High Point. So you can do all the chest pounding you want. When you get the opportunity in the NCAA tournament, you got to take advantage of it. That's the proving ground. That's what makes the tournament so great. So still to come in this afternoon window, tipping off here in about 5 minutes is Arkansas and Hawaii. Michigan State and North Dakota State are going to tip off at roughly the same time. In fact, the scorebug on CBS right now says they will tip at simultaneous tip-offs at both of those sites. Meanwhile, Duke has cut it to 6 as we approach the under 16 media timeout, 47-41. They finally made a 3. So still on upset watch and playing some cowardly zone defense, but don't let Siena get hot again because they were scalding hot in the first half. We're going to take our first break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, I'm genuinely curious. What's your setup for these tournament games? You watch all of them at once? Do you maybe pick one or two and put them up on a double screen? Do you like to just do it the old-fashioned way? Use the last channel button like a speed bag? What's your setup today? Let me know. And particularly, like, when you're working, what's your setup while you're working? I won't sell you out. I won't say where it is that you work. I won't give your name. I won't put your name out there if you're going to tell me, yeah, I know I'm supposed to be working, but I got 3 games going right now instead of doing these TPS reports or whatever you got supposed to be going on. So tell me. I'm no narc. 785-272-9429 on the text line or in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Share your setup with me. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to argue in favor of the old school setup, the way we used to do it. Maybe was the best way to do it. And when it comes to watching the tournament. I'll make that argument next. We got Rick Peterson coming up in about 15 minutes. We've got some Royals and Chiefs to get to on the show today. Lots of NCAA tournament talk and updates as we go along on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 327 on 580 Sports Talk. Just getting started on this Thursday. It's first day of the NCAA Tournament. Day a lot of people call in sick to work or shirk their work responsibilities, even if they're not supposed to, so they can watch some basketball. I ask you, what is your setup? What do you got going today? You got a text from the 316. I got games on the phone, listening to your show while working ground in a tractor. Best setup is dual monitors with a friend in an office while shrugging off work responsibilities, in my opinion. Great take, first of all. Second of all, shout out to you, everybody. I don't say this enough, and I need to say it more often. Anybody out there who is listening to us while they're working the field, they're out in the farm, they're on a tractor, combine, whatever they've got going on out on the farm. Cannot thank you guys enough, both for the work you do, but also for choosing us to keep you company while you're doing the work that you do. We know we got, the history, the long history of this station and how we carry across the state and how we carry from urban areas to rural areas and all points in between across this great state. It is a true honor to get to keep you company while you do that work. So thank you very much for listening in. Appreciate that very much. Vance has this take in the live chat on YouTube. I like to just pick one NCAA tournament game at a time and watch it. I'll pick the Big 12 game over any other. Our office has a TV in the lobby. It's fine if you say where I work, I co-own it. Shout out to you, Vance. Yeah, if you're your own boss, right, you can't get, you're going to fire yourself for watching games on the job. But I'm with you, Vance. I have come to be a big believer in the idea that if you're watching multiple games, you're not really watching any of them. That there is something to be said for the idea of honing in on one game, especially, down the stretch as it gets tight, as it gets close to the finish. I'm a big believer in that more and more as I get older. Now, it's funny, I say this, I've got 3 TVs laid out in the basement and, on a college football Saturday, you can go 3 wide, or an NFL Sunday, you can go double wide. I don't pay for the ticket. I might have to next year. My favorite team got good. I don't know if you guys remember that. They won the Super Bowl. That was pretty cool. But the thing about my setup though is the TVs aren't all the same size. There's one big one, and the big one is the big game that I'm dialed in on the most. It's nice to be able to keep an eye on other things, but I'm a big believer in you got to have one that you're really honed in on. Like right now, it's got to be Duke Siena. Like the entire nation's attention is honed in on Greenville, South Carolina right now. Siena leads Duke by 3, about 13 and a half minutes to play. Siena led by 13 at one point in this second half. The largest deficit faced by a Duke team this year. And Siena still the number 16 seed holding the lead. I mentioned their coach is Jerry McNamara. I mentioned that Kansas fans do not have fond memories or things to say about Jerry McNamara. And Christopher, very funny in the chat, says, I'd rather never hear his name again at least half the time. He didn't do anything. He did absolutely nothing in the second half of that game, which that cracks me up. And that's true. But the points in the first half counted too. And he came out firing. Andrew points out, in an unrelated notion, March is also the month where men get the most vasectomies. I don't know if March Madness is related to it or not. Believe it to be. I do believe that to be related. It's a good opportunity to, hey, boss, I got to knock off for a couple days. I'm getting a very delicate procedure done. I got to sit around with a bag of frozen peas on my groin for a couple of days. And it just happens to be mid-March. That's just a happy coincidence, right? Like, that's one of those things that it might be an old wives' tale, but it certainly feels true. It feels true enough, I think, for us to have widely accepted it as fact. So, again, a lot more games to come. Hawaii and Arkansas have just tipped off. Arkansas is out early there to a lead. Haven't let Hawaii score yet in the first 3 minutes. North Dakota State and Michigan State back and forth in the opening stages of that one. Vanderbilt's opened up their lead to 10 early second quarter on McNeese State. We had great turnout, by the way, for our bracket challenge, our 580 Sports Talk bracket challenge, the 580 Sports Talk Ball Knowers group. We were over 130 entrants for the challenge. Hope you were able to get entered before the brackets locked and the games tipped off earlier today. Again, the grand prize, one winner, one prize, is either 4 tickets to a Royals home game this year or 4 tickets to a K-State home game this year. Your choice, dealer's choice. So we had great turnout for that. That was really cool to see. A lot of you following my lead, taking Arizona to win the championship. I don't know if you did that because of me or what, but Arizona and Michigan were by far the most common champions in the bracket pool. A few Duke that are probably sweating this a little bit. 2 arguments people make, and I think I agree with both of them. Number one, fill out your bracket, and if you win your bracket pool, great, but early in the tournament, don't root for your bracket, root for upsets. I think I agree with that. Like, enjoy the tournament. Even if you've got Duke in your bracket going all the way, you should be bouncing off the walls every time Siena scores. Unless, like, you've got your kids' college fund wrapped up in, like, Duke covering the spread. In that case, I would look into maybe changing your name and moving far away at this point, because I think they were ample favorites, and I don't think they're going to cover the spread. But I think I do agree with that. Like, put out your bracket, but root for the chaos. Embrace the chaos. Because if you don't embrace the chaos, then, you know, how much fun are you really having? The other argument, too, is it's better to watch one game than it is to try and watch all 4 of them. I kind of wish there were a broadcast dedicated to broadcasting the tournament the way the tournament was broadcast when I was a kid. And I don't mean in standard definition. And I don't mean, I brought up, talking off the air to Brendan, I brought up the cursed idea of an AI Greg Gumbel sending you from game to game. CBS, don't do that. Nobody wants that. Let the man rest. R.I.P. Greg Gumbel. But the thought of having like a red zone type of channel that would be available, like they could put it as like a fast channel on your streaming stick or something. And just, you've got the featured game, and then they whip around to wherever the interesting action is. So you never miss a great finish. But you also don't have to wear out the last channel button on your remote. I kind of wouldn't mind a return to that. I do appreciate that more and more the further I am removed from it. Remembering the days where, if you had a cool teacher and they'd wheel one of the TVs in for a period, or skipping recess to duck into a class to try and watch the games. I did that in middle school. I don't want to go out recess. Listen, I picked Richmond as a 14th seed. They got a second half lead. I'm trying to watch the game. I've been a degenerate my whole life, if you couldn't tell, when it comes to this NCAA tournament stuff. Siena by 4. They're nearing the under 12 media timeout in Greenville. Vanderbilt's still up 10. Arkansas still pitching a shutout on Hawaii. That's 9-0 early. And they're at the under 16. Michigan State down 1 to North Dakota State. We're going to take a timeout here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, Rick Peterson of TopSports.news is going to join us for the local sports spotlights. We put a wrap on the high school and local college basketball seasons. That's coming up next here on 580 WIBW. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by the great Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for a segment we call the Local Sports Spotlight. Pistol helps us talk about all things Washburn University athletics and Shawnee County High School sports here every Thursday at this time. But Pistol, I have to ask you this first. You watching the NCAA tournament today?
No, haven't watched a minute of
it. All right. Well, we've got the game. I've got a game going in front of me. Duke might lose to a 16 seed. So if you hear, fireworks, celebration, pomp and circumstance,
okay.
that would be America celebrating a Duke defeat. Speaking of the NCAA tournament, the runs were very short for both the Washburn-Ichabod men and women. We'll talk about the women first. They lost their first round game of the tournament to UCM, the same team that they had to play in the MIAA championship game. A disappointing loss to be sure, but how much of this season, even with the loss of some really influential players to graduation, can be a foundational year for Laura Westling's program as they move forward?
Well, I think it'll be a great move forward, and not only for the girls that got coming back, but it should really help Coach Westling when she goes into schools and homes to recruiting wise to just say, hey, we're an NCAA, we're MIAA tournament team and arguably the best conference in the country, and we made it to the NCAAs. I think that's a big deal too.
Obviously, the men is the number 1 seed in the Central region. Losing at home to the number 8 seed was a huge gut punch. Having to play in the tournament without their star sophomore center Dylan Clausen made it that much more difficult. Hard to describe, I know, the heartbreak, the devastation for those players, for Coach Brett Ballard and the program. But when they dust themselves off after this, where are they going to be able to believe that they can go, and what does their future look like, even with a player like Clausen hitting the transfer portal, which he did earlier this week?
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, they're established as one of the nation's top programs, and I expect them to continue that, even with losing the seniors and Dylan Clausen like they have. I think again, Brett Ballard can go out and fill some holes, the holes that need to be filled recruiting-wise, and I expect them to be back in this position next year.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.news joining us here on the Local Sports Spotlight on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Thursday at this time. Pistol, the state basketball tournaments are in the books. We had 2 state champions from Shawnee County. We'll start with the Hayden girls taking down Wellington and Bishop Miege, who'd been in the title game each of the last 2 years facing each other, to win the championship for the first time in 22 years. And I don't know how you felt, Pistol. I certainly didn't think early in the year that was a surefire state championship contender. They had so much to replace from the team that had finished third last year. But it was remarkable to watch Carvel Reynoldson's teams grow and mature throughout the year. And in the end, it was their depth and their bench production that I think was most critical of all in helping them win that state championship, the 5th in school history.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say defense. They were never going to be the type of team that was going to hang 70 on you or anything, but they could hold teams to the 30s and the 40s, and that'll keep you in games. And I think, again, that was the key in the championship game. They shut down a very, high-octane Miege team with some great players. And then, like you said, they got contributions from they got what they needed to get from their star, Haley Smitline. And then they had several contributions, not only from the starters, but off the bench.
They were remarkably young. They only one of those bench players was a senior. They were not a particularly senior-laden team. Their best player was a sophomore, Schmidtline. Their second leading scorer was a sophomore, Blakely Walter. They had some other sophomores give them really great production this year. This sort of feels like a program that can settle in and maybe make another run at a couple more of these, does it not?
Well, they certainly have the potential to do that. I think Carvel will definitely expect them to be back in state next year. And then, anything can happen at state, but if you get to state, you put yourself in position.
The other champion from Shawnee County, the Silver Lake Eagles girls, second time in 3 years, eighth time all time. They defeat Osage City in the championship game. And I just have a ton of respect for Kyle Porter, how he coaches, the way his teams play. Caitlin Haney's about as good a point guard as I've ever seen in high school basketball, girls basketball at any level. That was a team that really felt all year long like they were on a mission to go and reclaim that state championship, and they felt like they were not going to be denied out there in Hutchinson.
No, I picked them, before the season started. I thought definitely they were the team to beat. And I really think it helped them losing that one game to Rock Creek. I think it just gave them more motivation, and they rolled. I mean, again, they have very good defense. They have very good balanced scoring, and they got this, the star Haney to lead them. And she was great throughout the season, throughout her career, and throughout postseason.
We're joined by Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. Pistol covers high school sports and Washburn University athletics at TopSports.news, and joins us every week at this time for the local sports spotlight. It was a bit of a frustrating state tournament for the city contingent, particularly in Class 5A, though Seaman did at least bring home a win in the third place game and very nearly ended Capen's winning streak before it was ended 2 days later in the championship game by Bonner Springs. A big third place win over a city rival. They send Craig Cox out a winner. That's a state tournament that Seaman can, I think, be really proud of in the end, and really only the third time they've ever brought home hardware from a boys basketball state tournament. So when you add all that up, a very successful year for that Seaman team, a senior-laden bunch that came through for their retiring coach in the third place game.
Yeah, I think that was third was a good performance and a good accomplishment for that team. They had their star, Kayvon Bonner, but then, it was just a lot of good guys that knew how to fill their roles and who all knew who the star was. And then Kayvon, when people started throwing gimmick defenses at him and everything, he got those guys the ball and they delivered, particularly in some big games. So, no, I thought they played very, very well, and it was a great, like you said, a great season to send CC out on.
When you hear Craig Cox say, three-time state champion head coach, when you hear him say that Kayvon Bonner's the best player he ever coached, what's your reaction to hearing that?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was a little surprised, just because he coached a guy named Gary Woodland, was pretty good too. But no, that's a great compliment from a guy that's had a lot of really good players.
Over in the girls bracket, it was Shawnee Heights taking home a fourth place finish. They were unable to win in the third place game, the final game of their retiring head coach Bob Wells' career. But for a Shawnee Heights team that hadn't been to state in 15 years to reach the state semifinal, obviously the injury of Permella Carter played a huge role. But I think the disappointment will be in that they were not able to be at full strength for those last two games.
No, and it happened so early. I mean, it just boom. She's out, and Sammy Baum really stepped up and kind of helped take up that load. But and then they played really good teams going in those last two games.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.news is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk. This is the local sports spotlight. We've mentioned two retiring head coaches, Bob Wells, Craig Cox, as Shawnee Heights girls and Seaman boys, respectively. Obviously, Ken Darding stepping aside after taking the Shawnee Heights boys to the state tournament, and Ron Slaymaker calling it good after 2 seasons at the age of 89 at Topeka High after getting them to state and very nearly getting by Derby in round 1 in Class 6A. When you talk about the experience and the expertise and the accomplishments of these 4 head coaches that are standing aside. Can you remember a time, Pistol, where so many coaches in the area that can rightfully be called some of the best ever at their school, some of the best ever, period, are stepping aside?
No, never. I mean, never this many in one year. I knew it. I mean, I saw it coming. And even last year, even last spring, most of those guys had kind of let me know that this might be it. But no, for them to all go at the same time, a big loss for city basketball. But man, what they accomplished is immeasurable.
Do you think that those hiring processes will go pretty quickly at those respective schools? And last year we had a lot of hiring from within, either promotions from the assistant coaching staff of previous head coaches, or coaches hired who had previous city experience, like Robbie Sanders, who's a Topeka High alum, getting hired there. Do you think it will be more of the same in that regard? Do you think these are programs that can cast a bit of a wider net?
I think these programs can cast a wider net. A lot of people don't realize with high school programs, it also comes down to what teaching openings you have, because I think most schools would rather have somebody in the building if they can, just because, so they're around all the time. But, you got to look at that. You got to look at, who candidates will look at who these teams have coming back. I mean, Topeka High, for example, has Shy Rayton and Haley Carroll coming back, and that's attractive for anybody coming in. And so I expect that job to get interest. And then the other 3 are very established programs. And again, Shawnee Heights girls have KK Emmett and Carmela Carter, and that group comes Sammy Baum. So I think there'll be some very heavy interest in those openings.
Lastly, Pistol, this was the first year at the state basketball tournament of a new format that Keisha rolled out this season, with neutral site quarterfinal games on Tuesday and Wednesday across the state, and then semifinals in fewer sites. Instead of 7 state championship sites, there were 4 this year. What was your take on the new format, and what did you hear from coaches, players, fans about what they thought of the first year of this new format?
A lot of negative reaction, especially the quarterfinals, where you had people spread out all over the place. The teams, the county teams that I had in, I think it was at 5 different sites, and for fans, coaches, players, I don't think anybody necessarily liked being spread all over the place. I like, the fact that they're having, some bigger sites and things like that. But I think it needs some tweaking. I applaud for Keisha for trying some different things. I always loved sitting there at wherever, but, recently at White Auditorium and watching, 4 really good games, and it allow the coaches a chance to scout who they might see on and study in the other 2 games and things like that. And like I said, I think it's going to need some tweaking.
Rick Peterson covers high school sports and Washburn University athletics. I'm thinking state tournament, almost said Wichita athletics. Washburn University athletics here on the local sports spotlight. You can read all his work at TopSports.news. Pistol, even when I get tongue-tied, it's always a pleasure having you on the program. We'll do it again next week.
Okay, thank you.
That is Rick Peterson. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk next. Our thanks again to Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Chris Furd asked in the YouTube comments, I certainly want to get Pistol's take on it, both his and the take of those who he's talked to, what I thought of the new state tournament format for this year. I think it's really well intentioned by Keisha, and I love fewer state championship sites. I am a thumbs up, A+ on having multiple classes in different sites. But the quarterfinals being all over the place didn't really work. Now, I think having like quarterfinal, maybe you do pods where like half of the 6A brackets in one place, half of the 6A brackets in another, or half of the 5A bracket or half of the 3A bracket is in one place on one day. Or you just keep the quarterfinal sites. Those can be their own thing, and you just have one venue per class. And restrict travel a little bit, make it a little more convenient for fans that way. Because I think there was something to be said for getting some new venues involved, like the KCKCC Fieldhouse was a great venue, I thought, and looked like a great atmosphere at the Garvey Center, at Friends in Wichita. Some of those smaller college venues are great state tournament venues because the atmosphere is better there than it is in Charles Koch Arena, which is 10,000 seats, and 9,800 of them aren't full for a quarterfinal game between like Manhattan and Shawnee Mission South or whatever. So I do think it could use some tweaking, but I think that the primary thought behind fewer state tournament championship sites is a good one. And that's one that I hope that they will stay with as things go forward. Updating the NCAA tournament, America's team, the Siena Saints, have fallen behind Duke 65-61. That game under 2 minutes to play in Greenville. And there is not a single thing that Duke has done, it appears, particularly well. But they got a 4-point lead in the ball coming down the stretch in that one. Vanderbilt with a 6-point lead over McNeese State, about 8.5 minutes to go there. Arkansas is beating the Hawaii Rainbows with hammers in that first round game. And then Michigan State's opened up a double-digit lead over North Dakota State late first half in that one. When we come back for the 4 o'clock hour, we'll continue to keep you updated on all the NCAA tournament happenings. Also, we're going to talk some Chiefs. What does their starting lineup look like right now after the first wave of free agency? And do the Royals have a ninth inning problem? I think they might. We'll talk about it on the next hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Now we're number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday. Happy March Madness, everyone. First day of the NCAA Tournament. My name is Dan Lucero. I'm with you for the next 2 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. 2 claps for the Siena Saints. They gave it a run. They led number 1 overall seed Duke by as many as 13 in the second half. They couldn't pull it off. Duke wins 71-65. Your brackets are all, well, to the extent that they were intact before that, they remain intact for now. Jerry McNamara can go take the Syracuse job. I thought I saw, and it's hard, obviously, to watch a basketball game and host a sports talk radio show, but I thought I saw a graphic that said Siena didn't use a bench player in the game. They sure didn't. Okay, they brought one guy in the final minute. But yeah, all their starters are shown here playing 40 minutes. They ran their 5. They said, look, man, we put in any one of our guys who isn't good enough to start for us, and they're going to pee down their leg. We're going to run our starters and run them into the ground. And hey, it almost worked, man. Big shout out to them. Tremendous effort. And they gave Duke everything they could handle. But the Blue Devils are on to the round of 32. They'll play Ohio State, who beat TCU. They'll play TCU, who beat Ohio State earlier in the day. I had that backwards. Shout out to the Big 12. Good start to the tourney for America's best basketball conference. Want to hear from you on the program today. Text line's open. 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. You can also interact on the YouTube live chat. 580 Sports Talk, the name of that YouTube channel. Hop on in today. Duke game's over. Maybe you dial out of the games for a little bit. You dial into us on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have yet to do so. We're putting out lots of new content, YouTube shorts. We're trying to give you one of those a day, at least. So another benefit of subscribing. It's all free. It doesn't cost you anything but the click. So why wouldn't you do it? Why not? 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. You can also watch us on Facebook, WIBW News on Facebook. And I look forward to hearing from you throughout the day today. We had Rick Peterson on, and thanks again to him for joining the show for the local sports spotlight. We were talking about the state basketball tournament, the new format. I did not sense myself, from what I heard from fans more so than I heard from coaches and players, that the quarterfinal portion of the new tournament was particularly popular. I think that's something that Keisha might want to reconsider moving forward, just for simplicity's sake, for the ease of travel. Text from the 316 mentions how Nebraska, State Tournament Nebraska, plays all their games in Lincoln. And it'd be cool to do something like that at Charles Koch Arena or Bramlage Coliseum or Allen Fieldhouse. Would be a better atmosphere. I can attest to this. In a previous life, I covered sports in Nebraska, and I covered the state tournament, state basketball tournament every year. They do girls state one weekend, boys state the next. All the games are in Lincoln. There's 3 venues that host first round games. They have 6 classes. They got it down to an even number of classes, so it's a little easier for them to figure out how the games work. But they got 3 venues for the first day, and then they get it down to 2 for the second day, and then on championship Saturday, everybody plays at Pinnacle Bank Arena. When I was there, that had not been built yet. That was a hole in the ground when I was out there. That's how long ago it was. But it was the Bob Devaney Center back then where they played those games. I always thought that was great. I remember going to the championship games one year. I never covered a team that went to the final, but I stuck around one year for the title games, and I went. There were probably 8,000-9,000 people in the building for at least for the Class A game that year. And certainly if you're going for the Class A game, may as well go see some of the others, right? So you get better crowds, you get better atmosphere. Wichita is probably the natural place to pull that off, because you could do Intrust Bank Arena. You could do Coke Arena. You could do the Garvey Center where Friends University plays as your third site. And you can get a good number of people in there, have a good atmosphere in there. Should have seen it for when Capon played Wichita Collegiate earlier this year. They packed that joint. So that's a thought and something that I've always believed would be great. The only problem for Kansas is you don't have 6 classes, you have 7. And so you can't really do 7 basketball games in one day unless you're playing one at 8:30. It doesn't really work, unfortunately. Could always consolidate the classes, cut 1A in half. The back in the day, just uncut it in half. You did it with 4A. We don't split 4A anymore. Stop splitting 1A. No, honestly, I think it's more likely they split 1A again and we get to 8 classes in Kansas. I think we'd have 8 before we'd have 6. But that's maybe a bit of an out there theory. But no, texture from 316. I agree with you. I'd love to see a single site, at the very least, a single site state championship day and have the championship games all in the same building. Because I do think you would get 7, 8, 9, 10,000 into a place like Coke or a place like Allen Fieldhouse or even Bramlage Coliseum. I think it'd be pretty cool. I'm for that. Again, 785-272-9429 is the text line. You can also interact in the live chat on YouTube. Checking in on the NCAA tournament. Mentioned Duke held off Siena's upset bid. Vanderbilt trying to do the same to McNeese State. They lead by 8 late second half. Arkansas leading Hawaii by 12. They've had a double-digit lead pretty much since that game tipped off. And Michigan State pulling way out ahead. They're up 20 now on North Dakota State with about 2 minutes left in the first half in that one. And those are the last 2 games of the early session. So the first round of games, first 8 games. How's your bracket looking? I'm 2-3, man. I'm not going to lie. Hasn't been a great start for your boy. I had Oklahoma State. I had Ohio State to beat TCU. I had USF beating Louisville. Everybody had that upset. If you had an upset, that was a very popular upset pick to have. Didn't happen. I certainly had Wisconsin over High Point. I sat behind this microphone earlier this week and told you, I don't think any of the 12s are good enough to beat the 5s. And then Wisconsin gets beat. So tough start for your pal, but you don't win or lose bracket pools on the first day. Everybody knows this. You don't win your bracket pool with how you do in the first session of games. You win your bracket pool in the Final Four. You win your bracket pool in the title game. My Final Four remains intact after 5 NCAA tournament games. So take that. Anyway, we'll get into some more tournament talk later on in the program. I did want to talk some Chiefs today. We're more than a week into the new league year. The torrent of free agent signings has slowed to a mere trickle. And the Chiefs have done what I consider to be pretty good, pretty smart business all the way around. I think that everybody that they have added to their roster to this point, I would expect would help the team. I don't think there's a Jerry Tillery or an Elijah Mitchell in this bunch of early free agent period signings where you go, oh, really? You're going to give that guy some money? Even if it's not a lot of money, you're going to give that guy money? I think that it was necessary, obviously, to fortify running back. Chiefs did that with Kenneth Walker and Amari DiMercado. It was necessary to replace some departing pieces in the secondary. Chiefs did that with Alohi Gilman and Kader Kohu. It was necessary to add in the trenches. Chiefs did that with Kairos Tonga. It was necessary to add at wide receiver. Chiefs did that, bringing Tyquan Thornton back. Not really in addition to last year's team, but he was not set to come back, and now he is. So I think all of the business that the Chiefs have done to date, I give a thumbs up to their offseason. The binary, do I like it or not? Yeah, I like the business that they've done. I think it's been smart. I think the thought process behind it has been easy to follow, and I think it's easy to see everybody they've added to date or retained, like Thornton, contributing to next year's team. But there's still a whole lot of recognizable names and guys who can help teams, guys who are still additive to winning, still out there on the market. And, of course, there's still the draft coming up next month. So a long way to go. Roster building is nowhere near done at this point. But I think it's instructive to take a look after the first wave of free agency and really take stock of where your roster is and what it is that you might have to find yourself addressing as the offseason continues. So what does the starting lineup look like for the Chiefs? We'll start on offense, where Patrick Mahomes is your starting quarterback as soon as he's healthy. Justin Fields is the understudy. Kenneth Walker's your running back. Your top three wide receivers are probably Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Tyquan Thornton. Rashee Rice's availability, as of now, he's just under league investigation, but it's not 100% certain that he's going to be out there week one. Injury-wise, health-wise, shouldn't be any concerns there, but there's an ongoing investigation into his off-the-field behavior is the nicest way to put it. And that would certainly put something of a question mark next to Rashee Rice's availability. But if he's there week one, he starts week one along with Worthy and Thornton. Travis Kelce's back at tight end. Noah Gray is tight end too. The rumors about him getting cut, those didn't end up going anywhere. Kind of wonder where that was all about, to be honest. Just maybe it was somebody just scrolling SpoTrack and like, all right, what's the highest cap number for somebody the Chiefs don't really need? Noah Gray, yeah, $4 million. Yeah, just put that down. Put that in your article. It was in a lot of different articles. I'm not saying that it was one guy spreading misinformation, but doesn't look like that's going anywhere. At least the idea of not retaining Noah Gray, which you want to talk about guys who had strange 2025 seasons. Noah Gray went from a career year in 2024 to, I almost forgot that guy was on the team in 2025. Even if it's just a happy medium production-wise in 2026, that's a big improvement and probably worth $4 million to the salary cap. So he'll be tight end number 2 behind Travis Kelce. And then your offensive line, Josh Simmons at left tackle, Kingsley Sumatai at left guard, Creed Humphrey at center, Trey Smith at right guard, and Jalen Moore, your right tackle. They had too much invested in him for him not to start in year 2. It was understandable that he was an insurance policy in year 1, albeit an expensive one, because the Chiefs had no idea how the draft board was going to shake out and had no idea they were going to have a shot to draft a potential franchise left tackle that they really liked in Josh Simmons. So it's one thing to have paid him what they paid him last year, but end up not starting him. It'd be quite another if they go into 2026 and decide, yeah, we're not going to see what we've got here. That's why, like we talked about on yesterday's Mock Draft Wednesday, I would be so surprised if the Chiefs ultimately decided to go that direction and take a tackle with one of their top 40 picks, one of their 3 picks in the top 40 in this draft. Maybe they will. Now, I've seen, and I think I saw this in the live chat yesterday, and I don't remember who it was from, and so my apologies to whichever listener brought this up. But I've also seen this around social media as well, the possibility that the Chiefs maybe are less sold on Josh Simmons as the left tackle of the future, not because of his performance or not due to the injury he suffered, which was kind of a freak deal late in the season, but because of the 4-week absence that he had early on in the season. And if there is concern about the absence, which we still don't have the reason for, and I don't suppose we're ever going to get that information, which is fine. We're not owed that. But the possibility floating out there that maybe the Chiefs are a little less sold on Simmons because of that and a little concerned about, his mentality or long-term availability or whatever. And that would be a reason for them to look at tackle, which, okay, fine. But if you're not sold on Josh Simmons, you need a left tackle. They don't have those in this draft. This is a right tackle draft. Francis Mawanoa is a right tackle. Spencer Fano might be a right guard or a left guard. He's not a left tackle. Caden Proctor is a right tackle. So even if that is the case, and you're feeling a little less certain about your left tackle, I don't think drafting a guy who's not going to be a left tackle long term at number 9 solves that problem. So I'm still not buying it. I'm not buying any of these mocks that have the Chiefs taking a tackle in the top 40. Just absolutely not buying it at all. But that's your offense. On defense, your starting defensive line right now as it stands, probably George Karlaftis and Ashton Gelati on the edge, Kyrus Tonga and Chris Jones in the middle. Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquil are your linebackers. This is presuming a base nickel, base 5 defensive backs. Your defensive backs are 5 of the following 6. You have Alohi Gilman, Shamari Connor, and Jaden Hicks at safety. You know Steve Spagnuolo likes to use 3 safety lineups. You also know that he does not trust Jaden Hicks as far as he can throw him. Your top 3 cornerbacks are Christian Fulton, Noel Williams, and Kader Kohu. Who is your slot defender? Honestly, I don't care as long as it isn't Shamari Connor. I think Shamari Connor could be a really good and really disruptive box safety with Gilman playing the deep lying role. So I hope that's what we end up seeing. One of Fulton, Williams, or Kohu in the slot, probably more likely Fulton or Kohu, because Williams is just a bigger body, more physical, more of an outside boundary or field corner. But those are where your starters are going to come from in that secondary, in your base alignment. Your most common alignment. Everybody's base alignment is 3 linebackers. If you want to say base alignment is 3 linebackers, okay, Fulton and Williams are probably your starting corners, and then your third linebacker right now is probably Jeffrey Bassa. And I guess that makes a little bit of sense in a Leo Chanel type role because they're similar, like, speed. That's about the only thing that's similar. Bassa's not very big. Chanel is big. I'll be very interested to see how they use him in Washington because I don't know that the Chiefs ever quite figured out the best possible way to use Leo Chanel. I'll be watching his career really with a lot of interest as he suits up for the Commanders next year. But anyway, so that's your starters for the Chiefs. First question, is that team good enough to win the AFC West? And I think that answer is a yes with an if. And the if is if Patrick Mahomes plays 17 games or 16 games. Because he's still going to have to do some yeoman's work with a wide receiver core that right now is not very impressive and a defense right now that appears to still lack the ability to get after the quarterback. Having right now Ashton Gelati as a projected starter on the defensive line, that doesn't feel real good. And that's not me being totally down on Gelati's potential. I think he could be a solid player, but I think he can be more of a solid rotational player than a 3-down defensive end. Although, as well as he played the run last year, maybe that is the direction he's heading in. Maybe he is going to be one of those classic Steve Spagnuolo, big edge-setting defensive ends that doesn't really sack the quarterback a bunch. But those are your starters. And when you look at it like that, when you take a look in the cold light of day, what the starting 22 would look like for the Chiefs, it makes it all the more obvious that wide receiver and edge are the priorities with Kansas City's first 2 picks. That doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some tempting options on the interior defensive line or at corner, certainly. Maybe even at safety. If Caleb Downs is still there at 9, I would imagine no matter who else is left on the board, that's going to be tempting. I also think if he's there at 9, that probably means Reuben Bain and David Bailey aren't. And so that obviously you're not going to draft an edge at number 9 if those two guys are off the board. And that probably means Carnell Tate's off the board too, if Downs is still there at 9. So yeah, you maybe have that conversation about a player like that, or even maybe a player like Sonny Styles. But wide receiver and edge are where the Chiefs can most obviously use a talent infusion and plug in a player from the top of the draft to start on day one. Because Bain or Bailey walk into the starting lineup, and Carnell Tate walks into the starting lineup. And Mekhi Lemon probably does too, but Lemon is just so similar to all these other guys at wide receiver. You have to diversify your receiving core. Look at Denver. Look at what Denver's done. They had one big wide receiver and then a whole bunch of like unproven gadgety guys. Well, now they've got a real bona fide speed wide receiver in Jalen Waddle. And so now they can just ask Marvin Mims to be a gadget guy. And they don't have to stretch Pat Bryant, who's probably not more than a wide receiver 3, into more of a role. And they don't have to ask Cortland Sutton, who I think is a good player, but not a great one. He doesn't have to get wide receiver number 1 targets. He can just be that complementary piece. Things fall into place much better for Denver after the Waddle trade because they have that sort of diversity in their wide receiver room. And the Chiefs right now do not, unless you really like Jason Brownlee. It's a whole bunch of small yak guys. That's why I still like the idea of Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson. He's not big either, but I think Tyson's better than Worthy and better than Thornton. But that's what that exercise did for me. Is it made it very clear. Look, Chiefs got to come out of the top 40 with a nailed-on starter at edge, because I don't think Gelati is a starting caliber player at this stage of his career. And they got to come away with a nailed-on starter at wide receiver, because what if Rashee Rice gets suspended again? What if Xavier Worthy's just not good? Like, I'm a little more bullish on Worthy than some, but I think you have to start asking the question, like, is he just fast guy, or can he be more than that? Those are the two positions, though, that you got 3 in the top 40. You would expect those players to all start. You would expect all 3 of those guys you take in the top 40, to be starting players. I don't know that you're getting a wide receiver that you know can start outside of the top 10. Edge, you feel a lot better about that group, Bailey and Bain, than you do anybody after them. Even a guy like Messidor, who I thought was awesome at Miami. Which way, Brett Veach? Which way? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with a little What Is Wrong With You? Spencer Dupuis is going to hop in for that here on 580 Sports Talk. It is time for What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. Two new stories competing. Try and take down our current weekly winner, Keep the Change. Guy who tried to pay his bond of $250 by throwing 3 hundos at the judge and telling him he could keep the leftovers. Problem was the bills were counterfeit. They had Chinese lettering on them. And now that guy faces a whole other set of problems. Didn't get bonded out, as it turned out. Spencer Dupuis joins us for What Is Wrong With You. Hi, Spencer.
Hello.
We're going to let you get your story in first today. What you got?
Yeah, we're going to go to a Zaxby's in Winter Haven, Florida.
How do you feel about Zaxby's? You ever been?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of an East Coast thing.
Yeah.
You don't see them quite as frequently out here in the Midwest. I like it fine. I would say I probably prefer Raising Cane's, Slim Chickens. I probably put Zaxby fourth in the great chicken debate.
Yeah, I would say, I've had Slim Chicken.
I'm a Popeyes guy.
I've had Slim Chickens once, not very good. But I would say Zaxby's and Raising Cane's are about the same for me.
Fair enough.
All right. So a homeless man is accused of pulling on a car door handle in the parking lot of that Winter Haven Zaxby's. He was arrested after police say he punched a 17-year-old boy whose father struck him and held him until law enforcement arrived.
That's written very confusingly. But I think what happened here was the guy punched the boy, and then the boy's father
held him
hit
down
the homeless guy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Around 9 p.m. on Saturday, we're going to call this
last Saturday, the 14th.
Yes, on the 14th. Yes, March 14th. Winter Haven police went to Zaxby's to investigate a reported suspicious incident that they found a woman pacing frantically on the sidewalk in front of the restaurant. According to Winter Haven Police Department, the woman told deputies that a man later identified as 34-year-old Jamal Michael Grayson opened the back door of her truck and saw her 17-year-old son sitting inside. She told police that when Grayson saw the teen, he left the truck and tried to open 2 more vehicle doors in the parking lot. Police said the truck's owner and his son confronted Grayson, who was running towards Highway 17. As they entered Highway 17, police said Grayson turned and punched the 17-year-old in the face, knocking him to the ground in a travel lane on the highway. Officers said the owner of the truck pursued Grayson and caught up with him in the parking lot of a Longhorn Steakhouse. So we're going from
Zaxby's to Longhorn.
A
little bit more upscale, Longhorn. It's gonna set you back a little more.
That's where
really like their shrimp. Anyway, go ahead.
That's where, according to police, Grayson swung at the victim, and the victim punched Grayson, causing him to fall and allowing the victim to hold Grayson until officers arrived. Initially, according to WHPD, Grayson denied being at Zaxby's, but changed his story, saying he was there, quote, looking for his lady. He has a prior felony battery conviction from October of 2019.
Looks like they found a meth pipe.
And yes, they found drug paraphernalia and a white residue that tested positive for methamphetamine.
I think we knew we would get to that point of the story at some point, this being a Florida story.
Yes, but he was charged with attempted burglary of an occupied vehicle, child abuse not resulting in great bodily harm, possession of meth, criminal mischief less than $1,000, prior conviction for felony and possession of drug paraphernalia.
For my story, we go to Waco, Texas. We meet Julie Juarez, who was pulled over for speeding March 12th on I-35 in Hill County by a Texas Highway Patrol trooper. The trooper reported observing indicators of deception and an inconsistent travel itinerary related to Juarez's trip to Dallas. A canine conducted a free air sniff around Juarez's minivan and alerted to the order of narcotics. Were there narcotics? Oh boy, were there. How about 480 pounds of meth?
Wow.
That's so much.
Yeah.
That's so much more than 2 of me. That's so much meth. Also 40 pounds of heroin. All in an aftermarket compartment of the minivan. You say it best, Spencer. Don't commit a crime
while committing another crime.
While in the act of committing another crime. Yeah, that's why they tell you every rap song ever that talks about trafficking drugs. Drive the speed limit. Do not give the police reason to pull you over. Definitely don't speed if you have the equivalent of like 4 teenage boys worth of methamphetamine in your car.
Yeah.
A criminal complaint alleges Suarez picked up the narcotics in Mexico, crossed into Texas through the Roma port of entry, and was traveling to deliver the drugs to Dallas. She's facing some pretty heavy charges with a mandatory minimum 10-year federal sentence and a maximum sentence of up to life, because 500 grams of meth is the felony amount.
Jeez.
She had 480 pounds of meth.
Wow.
Outrageous. Anyway, who we got today? I'm gonna go with the lady with all that meth. That's
an absurd amount of meth.
That's an obnoxious amount of meth.
Yeah.
But I am going to say that does not beat keep the change.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
That throwing 3 counterfeit bills at the judge, being like, yeah, this will take care of my bond. And by the way, get you and your lady something nice. Keep that extra 50. That's a freebie. That's just for a smooth delivery of the bond hearing today. A little something special for you. Little grease. Which, I bet that would have gone over great if the money didn't say "In God We Trust" in Chinese. That continues as our winner on What Is Wrong With You. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, the Royals have a 9th inning problem, and we'll talk about it next. Don't wait, folks. St. Jude Dream Home tickets will sell out. Reserve your $100 ticket now. Help save the life of a child. You could win a brand new $410,000 home built by Drip A Homes. Plus, you're entered to win a $10,000 Denali Home Design gift certificate. Get yours at 580WIBW.com. The St. Jude Dream Home this year featured at 2636 Southwest Sherwood Park Drive in Topeka. Estimated value of $410,000. Got open houses coming up in May. Again, get your ticket to enter to win the dream home and donate to St. Jude. Save the life of a child. 580WIBW.com. Looking like a bleak finish to the opening half of games on this Thursday. Both Michigan State and Arkansas up comfortably as the second halves get underway. 20-point lead for Michigan State over North Dakota State. Arkansas leading by 16 over Hawaii. Again, second halves of those games just now getting underway. We are 8 days away from Royals opening day. We missed the countdown yesterday. Countdown was 9 days yesterday. Y'all know number 9. That's Vinny. It's Vinny Pasquantino. Countdown is number 8 today. Number 8 for the Royals presently is Drew Waters. He is not going to make the team, I don't believe. First Royal to wear 8, Ed Kirkpatrick. Best Royal to wear the 8, Moose. Mike Moustakas, of course. Royals play the Angels tonight in the Cactus League. It is a late night first pitch, 8:05. Chris Bubich is on the bump. He's had a really nice spring. It'll be Yusei Kikuchi for the Angels. Royals do not have a particularly good spring training record, but keep in mind they had to play a whole bunch of games for the last 2 weeks without all of their good players. So really it's the Omaha Storm Chasers by and large running around out there for the Royals the last couple of weeks. So if they've taken it on the chin, that's probably the main reason why. They lost last night to the Rangers 12-3. And in that game, Carlos Estevez pitched an inning and didn't give up a run. That was the good news. Bad news was he walked 3 guys in his inning of work. And I say this a lot, but I'll reiterate it here for the purposes of starting this discussion. Spring training stats aren't really worth paying attention to for veteran players who are roster locks. For the guys that come into spring and they know they've got a roster spot, they're all there to get the rust off. Pitchers in particular are focused on getting their work in more so than they are getting guys out. Like Michael Wacha didn't pitch great yesterday for the Royals. I don't care. Doesn't bother me in the least. He was with the World Baseball Classic team for Team USA, the runners-up in the World Baseball Classic. So he didn't get a lot of regular work during the WBC. So he's just trying to get his work in, make sure he's ready to go for when the games count. Doesn't bother me that he had statistically a rough outing yesterday. Cole Reagan's ERA is not particularly pretty this spring. I don't care. Couldn't care less. Those numbers don't really matter in the context of spring training, especially for the guys who know they're going to break camp with the club. But there are 2 trends that, if you notice them, can be worrisome. One is if a pitcher isn't throwing very hard or as hard, near as hard as they used to. And one is if a pitcher isn't throwing strikes, if they can't find the zone. And if you've got both of those things working against you, that's a big old red flag. And that is where we arrive with Carlos Estevez, who last night was working in the upper 80s with his fastball and threw just 9 strikes on 28 pitches in his inning of work. And it is true that Estevez always takes time to build his velocity. This is always what it's been. J.J. Piccolo addressed this. He's quoted in the Kansas City Star talking about this, that the Royals, even last year, when Estevez was slow to ramp up early in camp and in spring training, his velocity wasn't where the Royals thought it would be, that they reached out not just to the Angels, where he had been, but also with the Rockies, where he had started his career. And they were like, hey, is this normal? Like, is Carlos usually a slow ramp-up guy? And Piccolo says every team they talked to said, yeah, that's just what it is with him. It takes him a while to get his arm in gear. Some guys are just like that with their velocity. Like, it takes them time. I remember last year sitting in this chair in April talking about, boy, Carlos Estevez only hit 92, 93 in his outing today. That's not like him. He usually works in the upper 90s. That's a little curious. That's a little concerning. But the Royals aren't necessarily concerned with the fact that he's working in the upper 80s right now, because they know it takes him a while to get to his primary velocity. It took him a while last year to work up to that primary velocity, and he posted an ERA in the mid-2s, and he led the American League in saves. The job is get the final 3 outs. That is the closer's job. Get the final 3 outs. Don't give up the lead. Make sure we're shaking hands. And Carlos Estevez did that more often than any other pitcher in the American League last year. So you can't say that he did not deserve the closer role last year and did not deserve to be the incumbent closer entering 2026. But while Estevez did his job last year, he was walking a tightrope. His strikeout rate went down, his walk rate went up, and both his strikeout and walk percentage below league average. He gave up more fly balls than he ever had before, and he missed fewer bats than he ever had before. People just did not swing and miss at Carlos Estevez's pitches last year. And while it's true that for his entire career, his April and May average fastball velocities are always worse than the following months, it's always true. The first 3 months of last season were his slowest average fastball velocities in any month of his entire career. And for the entire season, his average fastball velocity was down almost a full mile per hour from the season before, which itself was down almost a full mile per hour from its peak in 2022. And all of those are the reddest flags. Those are potential recipes for disaster. You have a fastball-dependent pitcher who is throwing slower, who is throwing fewer strikes, who is missing fewer bats and giving up more fly balls. There is not a more problematic profile for the guy you are asking to get the final 3 outs of a close game than that. And maybe the tightrope act survives another season for Estevez. I'm rooting for him. I've been a fan of his since he came up with the Rockies. I loved his post-save celebration last year and how excited Rex Hudler got when he finally understood what Kamehameha meant. Rex loved that. He beat it to death a little bit, but that's a good thing. When you were hearing it a lot, that meant Estevez was doing his job and the Royals were winning games. So maybe he can pull off the tightrope act one more year. Maybe the velocity bounces back. Maybe the whiffs bounce back. Maybe the control bounces back. Maybe the fly ball rate settles a little bit. But this is an aging pitcher on the wrong side of 30, and I wouldn't say that the odds are real good that all of those things happen. And the Royals do not have the luxury of such a cushion over the rest of the American League Central or the American League playoff picture that they can afford to waste games in the process of finding out if Estevez is still going to be the lockdown option in the 9th inning. I'm not saying that Carlos Estevez can't close games at all, but I am saying he can't close a game on March 27th. I am saying that if the Royals lead the Braves 3-2, and it's the top of the Atlanta order coming to bat a Friday, a week from tomorrow, with a chance to win a game against a good team on the road to start your season, you can't give that guy the ball. It's got to be Lucas Erceg or Matt Strahm, and depending on, do you want to play the lefty-lefty game? Depends on who's at the top of that Braves order. It's probably more right-handed heavy. They'll have Acuna, maybe Albies, the switch hitter. So you probably go with a righty. You go with Erceg. But it can't be Estevez. You don't have the luxury of waiting on him to get right. You have to let him get right in low leverage. And I don't think Estevez is such a bad teammate that he wouldn't maybe understand that, hey, look, I know you led the American League in saves last year, but you're out there throwing 89 and you can't find the zone. Unless something radically changes, and I would imagine he'll get one more, at least, maybe 2 outings before the end of Cactus League play and the games start to matter for real. If it doesn't look a whole lot better than it did last night, and I mean a whole lot better, that can't be your closer. You can't trick off games in March and April waiting on your guy to get right. You don't owe him that. He was terrific at his job last year, despite not real impressive peripheral numbers. So if anybody can do it again, it's a guy who's already done it. But I don't think you can trust that if you're the Royals. You've got to have a contingency plan ready to go in the ninth inning right away, day one. You cannot afford to blow games while Estevez is ramping up his fastball. Because here's the thing about it. He's not good enough to get guys out with 92, 93. He's not good enough to miss bats. He's not good enough to trust. And he's not even there yet. It'd be one thing if he was at 92, 93 right now. That'd be one thing. Like, all right, yeah, you're going to get it back up to, at his best. He was 97, 98. He could even give you triple digits here and there. Last year, he averaged under 96 mile an hour with his fastball. Did he get the job done? Yes. Was it comfortable and dominant enough that you feel like he's going to be able to do it again? I'm not sold. I'd like to be. I really like Carlos. I'm pulling for him. But the Royals got to be ready right away. Right away. And even if they are deferential and say, look, you're our closer. You led the AL in saves last year. Ninth inning, game one, you're our guy. You better pull that ripcord quick if it goes south. And I mean after one game, you got to say, look, hey, we got to make sure you're right and back to good form before we give you the ball in the ninth again. The Royals have other options. Alex Lang has closed games. Urseg has closed games. Strom has closed games. You've got other options. I'm just one guy with ninth inning experience. Now, I really hope the Royals are ready to turn in a different direction if they have to, starting next Friday, because opening day is a week from tomorrow. What a wonderful time of the year this is. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk. .456 on 580 Sports Talk. Jeffrey in the live chat on YouTube asked if I'm saying that the Royals should expect to have a poor bullpen in 2026. I don't expect that at all. I think they got a chance to be pretty good back there. But bullpens are fickle. Sometimes you never know what you're going to get from year to year. I'm worried about Estevez, but I'm bullish on Urseg. I think Strom can get the job done. Lang's had a decent spring. I think Luinder Avila is going to be a factor in that bullpen before it's all said and done. I like Steven Cruz. They've got some interesting arms. And if Estevez gets right, you feel a lot better about it. If not, then they're going to have to kind of reorient, because right now the way they've got everything constructed is around the idea that Estevez is your closer. He works the ninth, and then you can bring Urseg in the tightest spots. And I really like him in the fireman role, that old school. You'll work whatever the toughest portion of the game. You'll get the most important outs, the highest leverage outs, no matter when they come. I like him in that role theoretically. Keep Estevez powder dry for the ninth, but if Estevez is throwing 89 all over the place, I don't want him anywhere near a game that matters, a situation that matters. So, yeah. Do I think it's going to be a poor bullpen? No, not necessarily. Do I think there's a ton of upside as it currently stands? It depends. I know it's a wishy-washy answer, but bullpens are wishy-washy. That's just kind of how it goes. Coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, we will have some headlines. We'll talk some more NCAA tournament. We might do an Ask Me Anything. It's been too long since we've done that. Here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday. Dan Lucero hanging out with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and live in moving picture form on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. Taking you up to 6 o'clock tonight, then we'll hand things off to the K-State Sports Network from Learfield for WBIT action. That's the Women's Basketball Invitational Tournament. Kansas State Wildcats have some more basketball to play after their stirring run to the Big 12 tournament semifinals. They are at home tonight against Georgia Tech in the first round of the WBIT. Tip-off at Bramlage at 6:30. Pre-game coverage half an hour beforehand. If they win, they'll play again at home on Sunday. I would presume Sunday afternoon or evening because K-State baseball is at home during the day. So maybe a little doubleheader. Maybe go out to Toynton Family Stadium, see K-State Arizona State, who I hear is the best team in the conference. The research, the reading I do on the Big 12 says Arizona State's the team to beat in the league. But K-State's offense, one of the best in the country so far. That'd be a good series this weekend out at Toynton Family Stadium. So you can go to that, and then maybe afterwards, if K-State wins tonight, you get to go see them play another game in the WBIT. But that's tonight. We've got that from 6 o'clock with the pregame show, 6:30 with the tip at Bramlage. And then following that broadcast, we'll join in progress the rest of the day's action, the night's action, in the NCAA Tournament from Westwood One. We'll have more tournament coverage over the weekend. We will have tournament coverage starting at 5 o'clock, so we'll be short an hour tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk. We'll give the reins to Westwood One at 5 p.m. Following that, we will have the full day of coverage on Saturday. You won't miss a moment of the action. All day Saturday, we'll have basketball. And then on Sunday, we're actually going to have that K-State baseball game on air for you. Their series finale against Arizona State. That is a network broadcast of K-State baseball. 12:30 pregame, 1 o'clock first pitch. And then following that, if there is no K-State women's basketball, we'll have more Westwood One tournament coverage. So that's the schedule. That's how things look here for the next few days on the Sports Voice of Kansas. Appreciate you being here for 580 Sports Talk. We've got one more hour to spend together. Going to do some headlines coming up in this segment. Got some college football rule changes to tell you about. Also, a problematic partnership for Major League Baseball. Also, we'll get you caught up on the NCAA tournament action. The afternoon games are duds. If you're still watching the second session, the final two games going on right now, the closest game is 19 points. They're all stinkeroos going right now. Arkansas big on Hawaii, Michigan State up big on North Dakota State. That's a 25-point game. I think our guy Brendan Dworzinski picked North Dakota State. I hope he doesn't mind me diming him out, but I think he had the Bison, and I think that was a mistake. But there will be more games this evening, scheduled for a 5:50 start for the third game of the day from Greenville, South Carolina. VCU and North Carolina will be the game that tips off the rest of the day's coverage. We'll get to the rest of the schedule, recap the rest of the day a little bit later on this hour. And I'll do some Ask Me Anything because I haven't done that in a long time. And to address the question for those who wonder, wait a minute, how is Ask Me Anything different than Random Question Tuesday? Why would you do Random Question Tuesday on a Thursday? I'm not doing Random Question Tuesday on a Thursday. I'm doing Ask Me Anything on a Thursday. And the difference is Random Question Tuesday, it's me and or Spencer and or Brendan asking questions of each other. Ask Me Anything is y'all asking me some questions. And I want to hear your questions. They can be about the tournament. They can be about anything. That's what the second A in AMA is for. Ask me anything. I'll take your questions later on this hour. It's a nice day. I'm in a good mood. I want to talk to you guys. It's been a long time, feels like, since we've gotten to do that. So AMA coming up later this hour. You can text the show with your thoughts, your comments, and your AMA questions. 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. You can also interact, including sending in your questions on the live chat on our YouTube stream. Name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Hop on in. Say hello. 5 o'clock hours usually for the diehards, but that doesn't mean you can't hop in and be a part of the chat over on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. And if you do join the chat for the first time today, say hello and subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so. Go subscribe to 580 Sports Talk. But let's do those headlines to start, shall we? And we're going to begin with those college football rule changes I just told you about. The committee has voted, and some changes have come down the pike. I'm trying to see if ESPN's got a story up on it. They do. It's just easier for me to find it on ESPN.com. The Division I FBS Oversight Committee. That's what they're called, not the competition committee. That's the NFL. It's the Oversight Committee for Division I FBS football. And today they approved a 1-year trial rule that gives a player a break for his first targeting penalty for the 2026 season. So you know how it works now, right? You get a targeting penalty, it's an ejection. And if you get that targeting penalty in the second half, then you sit out the first half of the next game. So it's a full game penalty, effectively. So if you pick up that targeting foul in the second half of your game on one Saturday, you have to sit the first half next Saturday. That has been the rule. That will not be the rule in 2026. If you are called for targeting, it is still a foul that results in ejection, disqualification. And that will apply regardless of which half the targeting penalty is called. So if it's on the first play of the game or the last, doesn't matter. You get ejected. But if you get popped for one, you get to play in the next game. There's no carryover 1/2 suspension. You get to play in the next game if it is your first targeting offense. If it's your second targeting offense, then you must miss the first half of your team's next game. If it is your third targeting offense, and nobody in the country had 3 targeting fouls last year, but if it is your third targeting offense, you will be effectively suspended a game. I am okay with this rule change. I think this makes a lot of sense. You don't have a lot of repeat offenders as it is. And I do think you should punish repeat offenders more strongly than you punish guys who do it once, especially with how often a targeting foul is not a penalty that is the result of a particularly malicious play. Like there are a lot of targeting fouls that are dirty, just dirty plays. Players being stupid, lowers their head and makes contact with the crown of their helmet to someone else's head. Ryan Davis for K-State against Utah last year had the dumbest targeting penalty I'd ever seen. One of the worst. I would have kept him out of games for the rest of the season if I were Chris Kleiman after the targeting penalty he took in the first half against Utah. It was brain dead and it was dirty. And a lot of targeting fouls are like that. But there are some that are okay, you're getting low because you want to try and contact somebody with your shoulder in their chest or in their waist or your thigh. You're trying to take them down, and then that player dives or they get hit, and there's the accidental low collision that results in contact with the crown of the helmet. And yeah, sure, you still shouldn't be leading with the crown of your helmet, but there are some targeting fouls that I think are a little harsh. And I do not think they should all be penalized the same, and I do not think they should all be penalized with the loss of a full game, like a half of the next game. So I'm in favor of this change. I like this. I really like this. A conference can also choose to initiate an appeals process after a player's second targeting penalty. The appeal would be sent to the NCAA National Coordinator of Football Officials for review, and if the appeal is successful, the player would not be forced to sit out the first half of the following game. So that's how that rule is going to be adjudicated. Other rule changes for 2026 from the Oversight Committee. Offensive pass interference will now be enforced like the NFL rule. It will no longer be a 15-yard penalty. It will be a 10-yard penalty. That, to me, makes a lot more sense. Also in line with NFL rules, the addition of a fair catch kick, allowing a team to attempt a field goal or a drop kick after a fair catch, such as on the final play of a half. You almost never see this. But the idea is you call a fair catch and you get like last play of the first half of the game and a team punts. Okay? Or you can make a fair catch and then you can try a field goal from where that fair catch was made. I forget who it was. Was it the Rams that tried it a couple of years ago and sent out Cardi for like a 70-some yard field goal? Where's the last fair catch kick in the NFL? I'm going to Google this. But the first one since 1976 was the Chargers. It was the Chargers that tried it. And in that scenario, there was a fair catch and a penalty. And that allowed the Chargers to try what was kind of a makeable field goal. And then the Chargers, I think, made it. So, yeah, it happened. It happened in the 2025 season. It was the Chargers and the Broncos. So you almost never see it. Obviously, you hadn't seen an NFL game for almost 40 years. But now it's an option in the college game. Also, a new rule on punts where linemen don't wear jersey numbers between 50 and 79. The snapper and the two linemen next to the snapper are ineligible receivers, the linemen on either side. This is a result of recent fake punt tricks that took advantage of a loophole and had proven to be difficult to officiate. Notably, writes Chris Vanini of The Athletic, the committee did not approve a proposal to require players to cover their legs from the top of their shoes to the bottom of their pants. The current college rule requires pants that cover the knees, but if you've watched any college football lately, you know that doesn't get enforced. The Oklahoma kicker in particular was wearing like volleyball shorts last year. He looked like a libero. He was wearing the shortest football pants that you have ever seen, like belt length. So that will not be enforced. There will not be a new rule enforcing the covering of knees. You will still be able to wear pants as short as you would like. Let's keep going on our headlines. You know that Kansas State hired Belmont's head coach, Casey Alexander, to be their new head men's basketball coach. Belmont has moved quickly to replace Casey Alexander. And while they have stayed in the Belmont basketball family, they did not hire a current assistant coach and promote him up the ladder. Instead, it's Duke assistant Evan Brads, who was two-time Ohio Valley Conference Player of the Year at Belmont, who will be the next head coach of the Bruins. He'll stay with Duke for the remainder of the NCAA tournament, which almost came to a pretty startling early end earlier today. Brad's finished his career as the all-time leading scorer for Belmont in their Division I history, and he will be a first-time head coach. He also has previous G League and NBA assistant experience. Duke hired him back in May. This was his first year on the Blue Devils bench. So what does that mean for Kansas State? Well, Belmont hires a guy who knows the school, loves the school, played at the school, legend at the school, but didn't hire anybody who had maybe been involved in the recruitment of Belmont's current players. So I would draw the conclusion that I would say it is more likely that players from Belmont inclined to enter the transfer portal remain in the portal. Does that mean I think it's more likely that they all go to Kansas State? Not necessarily. But I do think that that will make player retention for Belmont, even if only slightly, I think it will make it less likely. And that's why I brought it up. Next headline here on 580 Sports Talk. I do not like this at all. Major League Baseball is entering the prediction market space with a pair of deals that Commissioner Rob Manfred says are aimed at combating threats to the sport's integrity. MLB Today named Polymarket as the league's official prediction market exchange and announced an information sharing agreement with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, which is the federal body that oversees the growing prediction market industry. If you're wondering, hey, what's the prediction market? It's gambling. Polymarket and Kalshi have both tried to claim, oh, no, this is different than sports gambling. You're making a prediction about something happening in a game of sports, and you're buying shares of that outcome happening. You're buying shares of your prediction. That's gambling. It's gambling. Stop lying. You know who's all over this? The state of Arizona, who is suing Kalshi, and I hope they win. Anyway, Polymarket with this deal gains the rights to use MLB marks and logos on its platform, as well as official data from Sport Radar to help resolve its markets, while the league gets more visibility and input on the rules governing the billions of dollars that is expected to be traded on baseball this season. So if you've seen this stuff in the news, like, I guess I'm going to get on a soapbox here. This is all bad news. Like Polymarket, Kalshi, this is bad news. This stuff needs to be gone, done away with, regulated out of existence. And I'm not like Mr. Anti-free market over here. You know, let people do what they want with their money. I understand. Yeah, capitalism, free market. I'm all for that. This stuff is dangerous, man. And especially when you get to the realm of people predicting, not gambling, it's gambling, predicting that things are going to happen like in the world. Like people were buying predictions on, for instance, would the United States bomb Iran? And then when they did, they made some money off of that. Would somebody maybe have some insider information that they might want to make a little money on? Somebody, I don't know, with ties to the government? Donald Trump's kid is on the board at Kalshi? Huh, interesting. Just, interesting. It's a scam. All the way down, this is a scam designed to separate people who don't have a lot of money from their money in the thought that they will get rich and funnel more money to people who have plenty of it. And the lie that this is different than like DraftKings or FanDuel. Oh, no, we're a prediction market. You're gambling on a sporting outcome. It is no different. I hope that court case in Arizona goes really well for the state. And I really hope that Kalshi and Polymarket disappear. And I hope y'all aren't putting your money into that. Let your buddy Dan give you some advice. Keep your money out of that. Don't mess around with that stuff. That's bad stuff. That's bad news. The people in charge of that, they're going to run your pockets one way or another. You might win here, you might win there, but they are trying to run your pockets. Just like the casinos, just like DraftKings and FanDuel. They want to run your pockets. Play for fun, sure. But go into that thinking that you're going to get rich. It's a good way to lose your shirt and develop bigger problems. Now, Major League Baseball's thinking behind this, like the whole the bit about sharing agreement with the CFTC. Major League Baseball is worried, as all major sports are, and all major sports should be, about the integrity of their games. Used to be that sports, the major sports leagues and gambling were as far apart as possible because the major sports understood that if there was even the appearance of impropriety, the whiff of taint of gambling, I could have phrased that better, the whiff of scandal, a gambling related scandal would be horrible for the perception of the integrity of the sporting event itself. But over the last 5 years, everybody's kind of decided, oh, well, there's some pretty big money to be made. And it's everywhere. Gambling money is everywhere. And again, this is not me. I'm not like Mr. There should be a sin tax. I'm not Mr. I'm definitely not anti-sports gambling. I've indulged. I think you should be able to do what you want, again, with your money. I have a problem with leagues being in bed with the gambling partners. That does not feel particularly good, but the argument that the leagues make is that by giving access to the gambling houses or the prediction markets, it's gambling, then they are more able to monitor gambling action, the kinds of bets that are being made, the volume of bets that are being made, and that it helps them identify situations like what happened with the Cleveland Guardians pitchers, Luis Garcia and Emmanuel Clase, and their pitch rigging that they were doing over the last 2 years. And while that may well be true, you also invite that kind of behavior in the first place by getting so cozy with the gambling establishments. So, I don't know. I understand. Leagues care a lot about the integrity of their games. They do not want the outcomes of their games and their seasons to be altered by gambling scandal. They don't. But also, they can't say no to all that cash. They can't say no to the money that FanDuel and DraftKings and Polymarket, whoever, are bringing to the table in terms of partnerships and sponsorships. They can't say no to that. Too far gone. They're too dependent on it at this point. So it's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. And I think, honestly, the sooner that Polymarket and Kalshi are made illegal, the better off I think a lot of things are going to be. I want those gone. Let's do we have one more headline today? I don't know. Do we? No, I don't think we do. We got a bunch of college basketball scores and updates to get you. So let's just do those in its own segment, shall we? We're going to talk some college hoops when we come back. Update you on the tournament. We got one game about to go final. Another game is a blowout with 2.5 minutes to go. We'll set the table for tonight's action. And I'm taking your questions for Ask Me Anything to round out the show today. So text those in, 785-272-9429. Drop them in the live chat on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, and we'll do some of that to wind down the show today. This is 580 Sports Talk. 5:32 on 580 Sports Talk. The 7th of 8 games in the first sessions of the day at the 4 respective NCAA tournament sites has just gone final. Arkansas big over Hawaii, 97-78. Arkansas hangs 97. High Point and Arkansas or Wisconsin were both in the 80s. High Point pulling off that upset. Bet the over on Arkansas High Point. That one is going to be a track meet. That'll be a fun round of 32 game. Hopefully, I didn't think High Point was going to make it a game against Wisconsin. Hopefully, they can also make it a game against Arkansas. And it has also gone final in the last game of this opening session. Has gone final. Michigan State 92, North Dakota State 67. So a couple of blowouts to wind down the first session. Action resumes in about 17 minutes. Here's how the night window looks tonight. 5:50. You got North Carolina, the 6th seed against VCU. That was one of my upset picks. VCU is the program that's kind of been there, done that. North Carolina is coached by Hubert Davis, who I don't trust any further than I can throw. Also, their best player is hurt and out for the tournament. So that looks like an upset possibility there if you're inclined to root for one of those. At 6:10 in Buffalo, number 1 seed Michigan plays the number 16 seed Howard, fresh off their first ever NCAA tournament win over UMBC in the first 4. That should be a romp for the Wolverines. In Portland at 6:25, it'll be number 6 seed BYU against number 11 seed Texas, who edged North Carolina State in a really entertaining game. I have Texas in this one. BYU without Richie Saunders is just not the same team that we saw earlier this year. And frankly, even with Richie Saunders, that team had some problems. There's the chance that A.J. DeBonta goes nuts and wins it by himself. That has me a little shook as somebody picking against BYU in this game, but I am going with the 11 seed. Usually one of those teams out of the first 4 wins a tournament game, and I don't think it's going to be any of the 16s. Usually it's one of the 11 seeds will go and win a tourney game. So I think Texas is that team. And then in Oklahoma City at 6:35, it'll be the number 7 seed St. Mary's against number 10 seed Texas A&M. You know, there are some teams, unless you like really cover broad stroke college basketball. Like I watch a lot of Big 12 hoops. I've seen all the Big 12 teams a bunch of times. And I've seen some of the best teams in the country multiple times. I could not name a Texas A&M basketball player at gunpoint. I'll be honest with you. I couldn't give you a single one. Then the latest games of the night, it'll be Illinois, the number 3 seed against Penn in Greenville. Georgia and St. Louis should be a good 8-9 game in Buffalo. The number 3 seed Gonzaga facing 14 seed Kennesaw State, that game in Portland. And then the game scheduled to tip last on the night, for some reason, is the game in Oklahoma City, not the game in Portland on the West Coast. Don't get that at all. But that's Houston taking on the Vandals of Idaho. In case you missed the results from earlier today, we had one big upset. That was High Point, number 12 seed, beating Wisconsin 83-82. Duke trailed by 13. It was their largest deficit of the season. And they had to rally against number 16 seed Siena, but rally they did for a 71-65 victory. Number 9 seed TCU edged number 8 seed Ohio State. First game of the day, 66-64. Rest of the bracket's been chalk. Nebraska big over Troy. Louisville held on to beat South Florida. Vanderbilt pulled ahead after a slow start, beat McNeese. Arkansas drubbed Hawaii. Michigan State hammered North Dakota State. How's your bracket look? I had Wisconsin in the Sweet 16. Whoops. I don't think I was alone there. I had Ohio State winning that game. I had South Florida winning that game. So not a great start. A 5-3, but Final Four still intact. Title game still intact. That's where you win your bracket pools, folks. That's where you win those. All right, we're taking time out. When we come back, I'm looking for your questions. We're going to do a little Ask Me Anything. I haven't done one of these in a long time, and I like doing them with you guys. So I want your questions. 785-272-9429 is the text line. 785-272-9429. You can also drop your questions in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We got a bit of a lull between basketball games, so let's hang out together, finish the show. I'll take some questions. We'll have a good time after this break here on 580 Sports Talk. .541 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero hanging out with you solo on this Thursday. 6 o'clock, we've got K-State women's basketball coverage from the WBIT. K-State hosting Georgia Tech tonight, 6:30 tip-off. Following that broadcast, we'll have Westwood One coverage of the NCAA Tournament, take you through the rest of the night. We'll do some Ask Me Anything here. Got some questions coming in and looking forward to your questions. Ask Me Anything. That's the name of the segment. Quite literal. Ask Me Anything. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. I'll take your questions via text. I'll also take them in the live chat on YouTube on 580 Sports Talk. Since we're talking NCAA tournament, we'll start with a couple of tournament-related questions. Good Golf in the YouTube chat asks, who's winning the whole dance? I said it yesterday. I said it earlier in the week. I'll say it again today. I think it was going to be Arizona. 3 reasons. Fewest weaknesses, fewest injury concerns of the truly elite teams, And I think the battle-tested Big 12 road that they had to traverse will have them ready for good teams in big games. So Arizona's my pick. Good also asked how far Kansas goes with a healthy Peterson. I have them losing to Duke in the Sweet 16. Duke all of a sudden looking very vulnerable. I don't think they're going to play like that again the rest of the tournament. I think that they probably did not take Siena very seriously and thought they could just jack up a bunch of threes and blow them off the court in the first 20 minutes. And that didn't happen. And then when they got serious, they ate up a 13-point deficit like it was nothing. I still think Duke's the team to beat in that bracket. I don't think Kansas gets by them, barring even more injury to Duke. And I'm guessing Duke will have Patrick Gongba back for the second weekend. If they don't have him for this opening weekend, they get him back. I think that makes a big difference. Kansas just struggles against big teams. So I think they're going to have trouble, could have some trouble tomorrow with Cal Baptist. I think they'll beat them. I think they'll beat St. John's. St. John's doesn't shoot it well enough. I think Peterson will play great in that game in particular. I think he'll have a good game. He'll need to. And then they'll lose to Duke. From the text line, from the 785, are the play-in game winners actually tournament wins? Field of 64 or 68? I say no, win, and you're in. What do you think? I agree and disagree with you. I think you have to win a playoff game sometimes to get into the playoff. And that's what that is. Sort of like baseball. When you used to have the wild card game, the 4 versus 5, that's a playoff win because if you win, you get to keep playing. And if you lose, your season's over. That is a playoff game. Just like the first 4 games, those are tournament games. Win and you keep playing, lose and you go home. So the stakes are tournament and playoff stakes, then that is a tournament and a playoff game. And yet, you're not really in the playoff until you win that game. At which point, then you are in the field of 64, and then you are in the NCAA tournament. If you make the first 4, that is one thing. But winning that game is winning a playoff game, winning a tournament game. So that's the best I can explain it to you. That is the absolute best I can make it make sense. Like all tournament wins are the same, but the first 4 is like its own little tournament. It's not, the first 4 is not the NCAA tournament, but it is a tournament game, like a playoff game, if that makes sense. Sometimes you got to win a playoff game to make the playoffs, like the 2014 Royals. You got to win a playoff game to get in the playoffs. This is bracket related, I suppose. From Vance asking who my son's pick is to win it all in his bracket. Asher's not yet 2, so he has not yet had the pleasure of filling out his first NCAA tournament bracket. I think if you asked him who was going to win, he would probably say truck. Those are his favorite things in the world right now. I don't know if any team is represented. I don't think any team has a truck as a mascot, but I think he would say truck would be his pick. Although I do think his favorite player in the tournament would be Arizona's Braden Berries, because that's all my kid eats. Except he wouldn't call him Braden Berries. He'd call him Braden Beach, because that's how he says berries. It's also he says orange. Orange is not a berry. We'll get that straightened out as we go. We got a long way to go yet, but no bracket pick yet for my kiddo. Speaking of my little one, Jeffrey had a question about him as well. Has your son tasted his first Big Mac or any fast food? You know what? My kid freaking loves fries, to the point where if my wife and I go out and we get food, so sometimes, we'll go out, we'll get we went to McDonald's this afternoon, literally this afternoon. I took a little bit longer at lunch, and because it's my wife's spring break, we took Ash to the Discovery Center, and we were there for a while, and then we went and we got lunch at McDonald's. And Asher knows when we're going through the drive-thru, and he will start to ask for French fries. He will be in the back of the car and going, fry, fry, fry. And we better come up off a French fry. He likes French fries. He likes chicken nuggets of all kinds. We have some in the house that we'll make for him. He likes the McNuggets. He likes the nuggets elsewhere. Burgers are kind of hit or miss for him yet. Hasn't tried the Big Mac, Every now and again, he'll do a McDonald's cheeseburger. I've seen him eat a whole one. I've also seen him totally ignore a bite of one. He's less than 2 years old. Kids are finicky that way. But, yeah, kiddo definitely has a taste for starch. Loves some French fries. And take your questions, 785-272-9429. You can also, again, interact in the live chat on our YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. Take a couple of baseball questions from the 913. Dan, we, meaning the Royals, should be really good this year. We have pitching. We have 4 All-Stars. I also can't wait to watch Cags. What do you say? Well, we'll make our official season predictions coming up next week before opening day. I am leaning toward the Royals to win the Central. I have some concerns, but I think that the offense will improve to the point where the Royals can survive a little bit of a step back pitching-wise. And I don't necessarily think there's going to be a huge step back because I like their depth in the starting rotation, that they should be able to survive injuries much better than they did last year. And, like, if they get 25 starts apiece from Reagans and Bubich, they're really in business. I'd love 30 from both guys, but if they get 25 apiece from those two guys, because I think those are two of the best pitchers in the American League, I think they'll really be in business. I don't think it's going to take a lot of wins to win the Central. I think Cleveland and Minnesota and Chicago are still a bit off the pace, varying degrees of unserious. Really, Minnesota's the only unserious team. Cleveland's pretty unserious. They always seem to find a way, but they didn't add to their team, and they weren't all that good last year. They caught a ridiculous heater. They're winning every game 2-1 in September. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think, like last year, 86, 87 wins probably does it. Do I think the Royals have 5 wins of improvement on this roster with better health pitching-wise and less crap on offense? That's just it. Like, Cags doesn't need to be a superstar. He just has to not suck. And I think he can clear that bar. I do not think he will suck. I think he'll be pretty good. I did just trade him in my fantasy league, though. I hated to do it. I hated to trade Cags because I do think he's going to be a lot better. And I do think he still has superstar potential. But I needed a starting pitcher. And my outfield is Juan Soto and Roman Anthony and Wyatt Langford. I'm not hurting for outfielders. So I traded Cags for Drew Rasmussen of the Rays. I needed a starting pitcher. Rasmussen's top 25 fantasy starter. I feel like I came out okay. Hated to do it, though. But yeah, I think the Royals are going to be good. I think they've got a chance to win a division. Certainly think they've got to look at a playoff spot in the American League. Question from Mark B. If you were still playing baseball, what would your walk-up song be? Great question. Love this question. One of my favorite things to think about. So when I did play, now I was a pitcher, mind you, so I didn't just get like the 10-second walk up to the plate. They didn't let me hit. I was not a good hitter. So they didn't give me 10, 15 seconds. I got a whole like minute and a half on my track to warm up, to get loose. When I did play, my warm-up song was Working Man by Rush. True story. Working Man by Rush. That was my song. Still a good choice. I think if I were a starting pitcher, I think I still might go with that. Now, if I were a closer, I'd have to go with something a little bit more epic. I think if I were a closer, I'd come out of the bullpen in the 9th inning. I get my big intro, like Timmy Trumpet for Edwin Diaz or Enter Sandman for Mariano Rivera. I would choose Shook Ones Part 2 by Mobb Deep. And maybe you don't know that one. If you've seen the movie 8 Mile, that's the beat that they freestyle to at the very end, the climactic scene of the movie. Eminem tells all his business before the other guy can get a word in. That's the beat. That's Shook Ones Part 2. Epic beat, menacing. You could do a lot of cool stuff with a light show. That would be my choice if I were a closer. But I think I'd stay with Rush as a starting pitcher. I go Working Man. That little opening riff. That would be my call. I'll take a couple more. Christopher, Rick Peterson and I discussed this a little bit in the 3 o'clock hour, but he asked me what I thought about the high school state basketball tournaments going to a pod format instead of being in 7 locations. I love the idea of one location for high school state. Everybody being in the same city, everybody being in the same place, all the championship games in one place on one day. You'd have to split it, girls one weekend, boys the next, like Nebraska does, but you can make it work. I like that idea. The only problem is, man, Hutchinson does such a great job with the tournament. And Emporia is such a great site for the tournament. And like, there are other things to really like about all the other sites too. But if you're going to one site, you're probably going to Wichita. And I hate the thought of no state basketball at Hutch, which makes me think maybe they should just do it in Hutch. Maybe they should just have championship day at Hutch. They know how to host a big basketball tournament. They do it every year for the JUCO tournament. But I like fewer sites for the championship games. I didn't love the quarterfinal format. I think that could use some tweaking. But I thought the semifinals and the finals all being in one place or in fewer places, 5A, 6A in one place, and so on. I really liked that. I liked that a lot. I'm really in favor of that. Now all they got to do is get rid of the third place games and we're all set. And the last question, this is not my son asking this, but it's a great question. Good asking me what my favorite truck is. Great question. Right now, my son's favorite is the garbage truck. And every Monday morning when we have our garbage collected, I make sure we open the front door and Asher can watch the garbage truck come. And our garbage truck guys, our guys that do the route every week, have started to notice Asher, and they honk the horn and they wave to him. So my favorite truck is that garbage truck. If you're a garbage man and you have waved to a little boy and honked the horn for him, just know you've made his day. You've made his morning. And it might have been my son. So right now, my favorite truck is our garbage truck. Thanks for the question. Great questions all the way around. We got to take one more break. The walk-off is next. Hey, quick final word on this Thursday edition. Man, it's the best 2 days on the sports calendar, just about, isn't it? These NCAA tournament days. Boy, we've had some thrilling stuff already. High point with the incredible upset of Wisconsin. Had a great down-to-the-wire game between TCU and Ohio State. Siena putting the fear of God into the Duke Blue Devils. They had a great day already, and still 8 more games to come today. And, of course, another full day of first-round action tomorrow. We will be off tomorrow at 5. So 2 hours of sports talk to finish up the week. Hope you'll join us for that. K-State women's basketball in the WBIT coming up next, followed into the night by Westwood One coverage of the NCAA Tournament. But that'll do it for today's program. Thanks so much for being a part and hanging out with me today. My name is Dan Lucero, and this is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.